All right, everybody. I'm Caitlin Moore, the Financial Literacy Manager here at Union Bank and Trust. And today we were talking about fraud and scams. So these are the scams that we're seeing at the bank in real time. The latest ones that I've heard about are only about a month old, but they continue to be issues. Really, COVID brought to light a lot of the scams that people are seeing with their money. The biggest thing is that scams really affect youth and elderly folks. They affect anybody across any age range, but really a lot of the target is youth and elderly folks. And a lot of that has to do with technology. And we're going to get into that. So feel free to put questions in the chat box if you have them, or unmute yourself. Otherwise, let's get going. So to start off with, there's 4 signs that it's a scam. These are questions you should be asking yourself as you're considering whether something is a scam or not when it comes to your money. So scammers pretend to be from an organization that you know. This is really how a lot of youth are affected. Somebody's coming to them through an organization that they may know, through a company they may be very familiar with. And they're finding this stuff out through social media. I know a lot of youth don't use Facebook anymore, but that type of platform, you can put your interests and likes on your profile. And so a lot of scammers will see that, and then they will pretend to be from that organization. Scammers say that there's a prize or a promise, or a problem. So they'll often say, for example, this is something that happened to me, Target. I have the Target app on my phone. I'd bought something. And then a day later, I got a text message saying there was an issue with my payment for Target. Now, we'll talk about what that looks like in text messages, but I knew that that was likely a scam. So I went to my app to check my payment and it had been processed. So that was a scam, but it was familiar. Target was a very familiar thing to me, but also there was a problem presented. Scammers will pressure you to act quickly. They often work off of emotion, no matter what the scam is. So they're going to say, act now. You've got to do this now. We've got to do this now. And a lot of emotions kick in, a lot of fear. There can be a lot of fear tactics involved in the scams. And then the scammers will tell you to pay. Usually there's money involved, right? They're going to say that you need to pay in a specific way. Gift cards are a very popular one. They want to be paid in gift cards for some reason. And money, they'll say money can be transferred from Western Union or Cash App, such as Venmo, Cash App, Zelle, or mailing cash money orders and cashier's checks. And if you look at all of these options here for payment, all of them happen quickly. It's very hard to take back a Venmo transaction or a Cash App. Once it's done, it's done. The same with a money order. Money order is essentially a check. It's as good as cash. You go to the bank, you give them your $500, they're going to give you a money order for $500, which means that piece of paper, that money order is worth $500. So once it's exchanged or once it's gone, it's very hard to prove otherwise that that was a scam. So with a time on the scammer side saying they want something now, they're going to use the process of payment that is very hard to track and very hard to take back. So with a scammer comes to you with a problem from an organization you may know, they need something done quick, and they're going to be very specific in how they want to be paid. Gift cards are a big one because once you have paid for a gift card, you can't take that back, especially once the gift card is gone. And we're going to get into what that looks like and why that should be a red flag right away. Okay, let's talk about how to avoid this scam. Don't answer calls from or messages from unknown senders. When I got that text message from Target, or saying they were from Target, I think it was like a 6-digit number, a 5-digit number on my text messages. So automatically I know this is not a real number. And then they also had a weird website. They said, click here and go straight to your account. That's not a real website. It's not even a www.blank.com. It's a formula of letters and numbers. So that should be a red flag. Never give your personal or financial information to anyone, especially in a response. So a lot of scammers will contact you and say, look, I have this check here. I will deposit it into your account. Give me your sign-on information, and I will. A lot of banks will allow you to take a picture of a check and it get deposited through the app. And what they'll say is, give me your sign-on and I'll just do that for you. So then I don't have to send you the check. But now they have all your banking information. So you should never give your banking information to anyone in a response to their request. You should never give it to anyone anyway. Resist the pressure to act immediately. If there is a problem with my target payment, it is not a life or death situation. I do have time. If anything, they're just going to cancel the order or put the order on pause. So I could take as long as I want to go check my account. I do not have to do this immediately. There shouldn't be anything that's happening outside of a fraud or a scam that is so time sensitive that we have to act right now, unless it's a real thing, which it's not. So there's some things that we will get to about why it feels like a real thing and why we would act immediately. Recognize how scammers will tell you to pay. It should definitely be red flags. Our red flags should be up. We should be listening and looking for the red flags when these things happen to us. And if they're very specific about payment, especially if it has nothing to do with whatever you were actually doing. So I paid with my debit card for Target, but if they're saying you need to pay with a gift card, that should be a red flag. It doesn't add up. I will get to this one too when it comes to big organizations like Social Security or the IRS or ICE. And then also slow down and talk to someone you trust before doing anything else. This is when we have to look to others that are not in our situation. When there's money related things, it can get very emotional and we want to act quick and we're being pressured to act quick. So talk to someone outside of this, talk to a bank teller, talk to your parents, talk to your guardians, anyone else that's not in the situation that may be able to say, you know what, this sounds weird. This doesn't sound right. Somebody who's not emotionally tied to the situation. That's a good way to avoid a scam that way. Computer tech support scams. So this is one, I'm going to look ahead for a second, that a lot of elderly folks are targeted with this one. And I think that a lot of youth could easily fall into this, though youth are very technologically savvy. But this one, it has to do with computer tech. So a scammer may pretend to be from an organization that you know. We've established this. So let's say Windows. We have a Windows computer and we get a call or an email from from Microsoft saying your payment didn't go through for Microsoft Office. 1 second here. And they're going to claim that your computer or accounts have been hacked. And there may even be a pop-up on a screen. So I'm going to show you the next slide in a second. So this is a scam that goes on. So Microsoft is calling, they're saying, your computer's been hacked, or you even owe on your Microsoft Office, because that's an extension. You don't always get that on your computer. You have to pay for it. And then they're going to say, I'm going to send you this pop-up. Just click to let me in. And then I will get into your computer and I'll just take care of it for you. So that seems really easy. Microsoft's calling, so they're like, I'll fix the problem for you. And I think that that's why a lot of people fall into it, because it's so easy to think that, they're going to hop on my computer. They know what to do and they're going to fix it. I know that I do that for my IT department all the time. I had my IT guy, Jim, today hop on my computer from wherever he was, and he fixed an issue with just one click of a button. So he was able to get on. So that's why it's really easy. They're going to claim to fix the issue, request payment in a very specific way. So they're going to get on your computer and they're going to control it. And in a matter of seconds, they can copy everything on your computer and transfer it to theirs. So anything that you have signed on to, that you may be logged into, it could be your bank account, your social media accounts, anything that you have been on your computer, they're essentially copying your computer, putting it on theirs so that they can get to it later. You could see why this would be a problem. So that's what cookies are for. That's remembering everything on your computer. They're also going to say, well, I'm going to fix the issue for you, but then you have to pay. So here's how you're going to pay. And they're going to charge you in a certain way and be very specific about payment. Remember, we talked about that, cash apps, gift cards, things like that, but it's not going to add up. That should not add up. I'm telling you now, that should be a red flag. No one's going to be requesting payment in a very specific way. No one from Microsoft can take a payment unless they're in the payment department. Their IT department doesn't take payments, things like that. So you have to start thinking outside of the box. Does this add up to what they're asking me to do? So I'm going to show you really quick what this looks like. This is a real thing. So this is the pop-up ad that comes up with the Microsoft scam. So if I was a person that was having trouble and somebody called me and they said, "Hey, there's a problem on your computer. I'm going to send you a pop-up. Just let me in." It says it's right there. So they easily have access to my computer. All they need is an IP address. It's very easy to me to gather this information to hop on your computer, and then they're going to copy it. These scammers know exactly what to do, and they know how to do it quickly. So they're going to copy your computer and then charge you or get your banking information. So that's an actual scam that happens quite often. There's a lot of spoof telephone number scams. So scammers pretend to be from an organization. They may spoof caller ID. It's very easy to get past the caller ID anymore. I don't know about you, but for me, I have a area code that's in California. I kept my phone number from California. So I get my area code is 714. I get a lot of calls from a 714 area code, but I don't really have many people there that I know. And the ones that I do know anymore, I have their phone number. So I know that 714 phone calls are spam. Sometimes I've seen it where the phone number is like one digit off from my actual phone number. So they know how to spoof caller ID. Again, they're going to claim there's an issue, ask for your personal information because we got to do this quick. And they're saying, "Hey, if you give me your banking information, I could do this real quick. It'll be done. It'll be over. And then we'll stop calling you." And they're going to ask for that payment in a very specific way. And they're all using those cash apps, things like that are just instant. So just know that you should be screening your phone calls, especially if you don't know the number. It is okay to let things go to voicemail. I know voicemail is a thing of the past and people don't like to use it, but it's a really great idea because scammers don't usually leave voicemail. They don't like to. And if they're that determined, you could probably hear the immediacy in their voice saying, "Call me back, call me back." So you'll be able to red flag that phone call if you let it go to voicemail. I don't answer phone calls that I don't know. I really don't. And it's rare that I answer a phone call that I do know, because my theory is you can send me a text message and I can respond to you a lot faster than a phone call. So I screen most of my phone calls, especially on my work number, because I don't really know who's calling me on my work number. And that's okay. You can do that. Same with text messages. You don't have to respond if you don't know who the text message is from. You really don't have to. And never click a link that you don't know what it's for. If you do find that you're caught up in a scam, there's a couple things that you should do. And I'm going to get another presentation going right after this to be very specific about online dating and social media scams, because I want that to be on here because they target youth. But here's some steps if you find yourself in a scam situation. Notify your bank. If anybody has asked you for your online credentials, like your online information to get on your bank account, you need to notify your bank. All banks have connections with local police departments. They know what to do. They are filtering through scams every day, and they know the normal scams that are coming through. On the podcast that we have at UBT, I interviewed one of the police officers. He's a supervisor, a head of the white collar crimes at LPD. They literally only work with money scams here in the area, but they have connections all over the country for different scams and where they're coming from. So if I was caught in a scam, I would call my bank and then they'd probably have me call this officer. You could actually call the non-emergency line for LPD and ask them to talk to someone about whether you're being scammed or not. You can call the police and ask them, please do not call 911, but you can call the non-emergency line and then give them the scenario and they'll tell you if it's a scam or not and what to do. Oftentimes your bank is going to tell you to notify your credit bureau. For youth, you may not have any standing credit yet, but for adults who do, the credit bureau is the three main companies that track your credit report, and that's attached to your social security number. And what the credit bureau will do is freeze your accounts, which means no one can open up anything or close anything in your name. So if there's some fraud going on, it's always a good idea to freeze it, because then if anybody tries to open up anything, like get a loan at the bank or a credit card, you'll be notified. And that's how the police tend to catch these scammers, is through that idea. Not all the time, but it's just a good idea so that you don't have to deal with any fraud on your credit report later. If you've used your computer for this, You can have your affected computer equipment cleaned by a local computer repair shop. Use a credible one. But I would have it cleaned, because once you have, like, say that fraud with Microsoft, if they were, which it wasn't Microsoft, we're not blaming this on Microsoft, but the fraudsters that got in, they may have put something on your computer that is going to give them more information. So we want to get that cleaned. You should make a report to law enforcement. I've talked to a lot of people in the past year that are very afraid to call law enforcement, especially here in Lincoln. Please don't. There's a whole unit over there of police that do white collar crimes. There's several of them. They work with banks around here. We have a main contact at UBT. We would tell you the same thing. Call the police. If anything, just to let them know that this has happened. They may not be able to do anything at the time, but the more information they get from different people, the more they can look into it, and the more information they can go off to possibly catch these scammers. If I had time, I would go through some of the scams that this police officer was telling me on the podcast. But some of them stretched to New Jersey, down to Texas, all over the place, and had thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars involved. So just because it's in little town of Lincoln, Nebraska, doesn't mean that it wouldn't affect other states. And so it's really a good idea to report these scams to law enforcement, no matter what age you are. Just don't call 911, call the non-emergency line. Okay, in summary, before I change, we got a question. Couldn't I just ignore the scammers? Yes, you could ignore them. Absolutely. But I promise you, they're going to keep coming back. Okay. They might come back in different ways, but it is just really nice for police to know, and even your bank to know, what kind of scam maybe you ignored. Maybe you got the voicemail or a text message. It is just really nice, because the more we know at like the bank or the police department, the more we're able to protect you. That's what the officer said to me. He said, the more we know, the more we can centralize how we're protecting the community. So yes, you can ignore it. But it would be just a nice thing to do to report it. So in summary, don't give your information out to unexpected callers, especially callers. Remember that no reputable agency will call you and ask you for your personal information. I'm going to get to this point in the other presentation. And then if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. And that one I will definitely get to in the other presentation. So I'm going to switch gears here and go to the online dating scams really quickly. Share that for you, because this is the one that affects youth a lot. Are there free good apps to use to block some of these texts or calls? I know that there is. I don't know what they're called at the top of my head, but there is like scammer blockers. I read an article recently that those are becoming less and less effective, because scammers are able to tap into regular phone numbers. It's not coming up as like a no caller ID or anything like that. Like, they're actually using phone numbers, because you can get a Google phone number that's just an app on your phone. And so the scammers are getting a little more savvy with how they're contacting you. But I know there are free blocking apps. I have Verizon, and I know that they advertise for one of them. I couldn't give you the name on the top of my head, but call your phone phone company, and then ask them if there's any good blocking apps for your specific carrier. Great question. Okay, so moving on to online dating scams, and let me know if this isn't showing up on your computer, but this is one that is affecting youth, because it's becoming so normal to only communicate online. So there's some questions in here. Has an online love interest asked you for money? It's a scam. Okay. Scammers hide behind fake profiles on online dating sites. And this, we don't have to talk just about online dating sites. This could be Facebook and Snapchat and all those other social media sites. Snapchat is becoming almost like a dating app anymore, because so many people put their Snap out there, their Snap name out there just for regular communication. I see it a lot on TikTok, that people are just advertising their Snap, because then you can go straight and look at stories, which are faster than going on TikTok. So there's a lot of people out there that are just hiding behind fake profiles. And as we get to know them, that's when the scam may hit. So in speaking in terms of online dating, which again, we can make this bigger and make it more general. It doesn't have to do with just dating. It could be friendships, getting to know new people. But a lot of times they're going to profess love very quickly. I see this a lot with teenagers. That phrase is thrown around very quickly. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it, but that's how scammers use it. You're getting emotionally attached very quickly. And if you remember at the beginning of this presentation, they're going to use time as one of the scams. We got to do this quick. We got to do this quick. So they're going to fall in love or be completely involved in this friendship very quickly. A lot of the scammers will claim to be overseas or businesses or military service. So especially on dating apps, you may get to know someone and then all of a sudden they're like, I'm in the military, I'm overseas, or I'm doing business overseas. That tends to be how they do it, because now they're going to ask for money in a certain way. So if they're overseas, they are not going to use the American dollar. So they're going to say, can you send me money this specific way? So again, think back to the beginning, they're going to ask you to send them money in a very specific way, cash apps, money orders, things like that. So what we hear a lot is that on an online dating app, somebody gets involved very quickly, and then they're told, I'm a doctor overseas, I'm in the military overseas, something has happened and I need money now. Can you please send me money through the Cash App or Venmo? They say it's an emergency. Maybe they're trying to get back to the US for a reason and they need funds right away. Or even for hospital bills or travel or something like that. And they're playing off the emotion here. We're doing this in a very time sensitive manner, and we're very excited to get to know this new person. And so now they're asking us for money, but we like them or we love them and we're going to send it to them. They might say that they're going to visit with the money, but can't, or they're going to visit, but can't due to that emergency. So there's something in the balance for you. You're not going to be able to see them if you don't send them money. So then they'll ask for the money, and a lot of people do it. So what should you do? You should slow down, kind of like my speech right now. I should slow down. I'm talking really fast, but talk to someone you trust. Like I said earlier, if you can step outside of what's going on, the emotional side, bring the scenario to someone, an adult that, a trusted adult, guardian, banker, call the non-emergency line for LPD or OPD, and just ask someone if they think it's a scam or what you should do. They might be able to give you a different perspective because they're not emotionally involved like you are. You should never transfer money to a scammer from your bank. Buy them gift cards or wire money. So gift cards, told you I was going to come back to this point. A lot of scammers who claim they're overseas want to be paid in gift cards. And this should be a red flag. Okay. If somebody is claiming to be in another country and they're like, you need to pay, I'm trying to get back home to the US, please send me Walmart gift cards. That's not going to make sense. That should not make sense to you. If you're trying to get a flight back home, Walmart gift cards aren't going to do it for you. They might ask for different types, those Visa gift cards or something like that, but always a gift card where you can't get your money back. So once I have bought the gift card, it's done. The transaction is over. They might ask you to send them a picture of the gift card. And so they have all the numbers there, and within seconds, they will transfer that money from the gift card to another gift card, or to a bank account on their side of things. So that gift card balance is gone. It's at zero. So you can see how quickly this can go. I could buy a gift card online. I do this a lot for gifts. I buy Amazon gift cards on Amazon, and it's just emailed to the person. Another way of sending money to somebody. I do it for gifts, not for illegal purposes, but you could see how that, like once I've bought it, it's done. There's nothing I can do about it. So never transfer money to somebody, especially through your bank account, or don't give anybody your bank credentials, your sign-on name and your password, because they will often say, I could do this faster from my side, or the exchange rate. There's stuff to do with the exchange rate. So let me just have your bank account number and I'll deal with it myself. Please do not do that, because they will have access to all of your money. Contact your bank ASAP if you think you sent money to a scammer. So a lot of times if money is sent through your bank account, the bank can stop it or they can reverse it very quickly. I've been told by our customer service, the sooner we know, the better. So like if we know within 3 days, there's a higher chance that we're going to get your money back for you. And we're going to report it to the right people. If you could call us the same day, that would be great, because we'll put a stop payment on whatever you did. We could reverse it. We could even track where it's going, and that's going to go to the police when we report it. So report your report your experience to online dating sites. Absolutely. There's always somewhere where you can report it. The online dating sites especially need to know because they'll delete those accounts. There's fake accounts all the time. It's really easy to report people on dating sites, but also on social media, just on all the platforms you can report if you feel like something's wrong. And then there's a government complaint site specifically for this. It's the ftc.gov/complaint. This is for fraud and scams for online issues. So the government has groups out there that investigate all this, and they're trying to get to the bottom of these. So the more they know, the better. So there's some resources there that you can look at. I'm going to bring up one more presentation here that has to do with this online job scams, which a lot of young people are affected by this. Where did it go? I don't know if this is the right one. Sorry, bear with me here. That's not the one I want. Nope, that's not the one. There is just, I'm going to stop sharing and just share some stories here. There are a lot of scams that have to do with jobs out there. If you've ever driven down the street and in the corners, you see these signs that are just stuck into the grass that say work from home, full-time, make $1,000 a week or part-time, call this number. Or you get random emails off of Craigslist or these places that really we aren't going to find a job. That's where it's probably too good to be true. Oftentimes that's money mule status right there. They're going to charge you to start a job. They're going to say, you're going to pay us for your computer or your uniform or various things. And then they're going to ask for that money back. So you're going to pay them. You're never going to see it. You're never going to see the technology behind it. They'll say, we're going to get you clients, and they're going to ask you for your bank account numbers. They're going to say, we're going to transfer money into your account and you're going to transfer it over here. There's a lot of transferring of dollars, and that's money mules. You become a money mule. You're making dirty dollars clean. So if they can transfer through your bank account, which is a clean bank account, and then you give it back to them in cash, then there's no way that they could trace where that money is coming from. I say that lightly because we can trace it, especially if somebody's transferring it into your account. But you should never accept a job, especially as a young person. Be very cautious about this because they're going to target you. You should never accept a job that they're asking for your bank account number, your social security number, or they're telling you that they're going to put money into your account. When you have a legitimate job, they are going to ask you for some of that information so that they could do direct deposit, but it's the right people doing that. It's HR. It's one person. You're going to see forms. You're going to talk to people. You're going to see them in person. These money mule jobs, you're never going to talk to someone on the phone. It's always going to be through email or messaging, or if they're going to be out of the country. The jobs are based out of the country. You're never going to see anybody. You're never going to have a corporate office that you can call into. It's just not going to look the same as a real job. So never accept anything that you actually have to pay to work at, to start at. And then also that they're going to start putting chunks of money into your account and then ask for it back in a different way. They might even say, I'm going to put $5,000 in your account, go to Walmart and get $5,000 worth of gift cards. That should be a red flag. But this happens all the time. It comes from random emails that you may get, phishing emails or text messages or random signs on the corner. Speaking of phishing emails, this is another scam we see. You'll get an email in, I want to hear this, Felipe. Once I give this example, I'd love for you to speak into that, but you might get phishing emails, which they come from a sender that you may not know, or a company that you may know, and they'll say, hey, there's something wrong with your payment. Click this website. Well, if it's on email, you could take your mouse and hover over the website that they're putting in the email. Don't click anything, just hover over it, because another box will come up right above it and actually tell you where that website actually is. So that Target example I gave you, I got the text message, but had I gotten that in an email, there would have been probably a website attached to it, a bunch of letters and numbers, and I could just hover over that. And if it doesn't say www.target.com, I could tell you now it's a phishing email. A lot of those phishing emails go straight to scam sites. They're copying stuff off of your computer simply because you're on the website and they're getting your personal information. So never click on any link within an email unless you absolutely know where that's coming from. So hover over that. Felipe said, or Dan said, look at your junk email. Sometimes it's amazing all the scams that are already filtered through your email account. Absolutely. Your junk box has a ton of emails that just a lot of places like Gmail or Yahoo just throw it in your junk mail anyway because it's flagged. So just be careful with that. Basically, kind of the moral of the story is if you don't know who's calling you, messaging you, or emailing you, just throw it away. Because if it was important, they would contact you the right way. This is a really good FYI for young people. There's a scam out there that scammers are using your online social media to find out where you are and then contact family members. So here's the example. There was a young person that was backpacking through Europe. This, I believe, came from our bank. This scam, I heard about it at the bank. So we'll just call him John. So John's backpacking through Europe and he's posting pictures on his social media. So Facebook's like blowing up with him being in Europe. Well, on Facebook specifically, you can list out your family members. You can say, Mark is dad, Ruthie is mom, Natalie is sister. And so a scammer contacted grandma. So Grandma Nancy is on there, and Grandma Nancy gets a call from John, supposedly in Europe, saying, Grandma, I'm stuck in Europe. I got robbed. I'm out of money. I need you to wire me money. I need you to send me money. And I need you to do it now, or else I'm going to go to jail. For whatever reason, this is an emergency. She's being contacted. Now, I don't know if she didn't recognize his voice. I don't know how he contacted her, but Grandma Nancy was scared and she wanted to send her grandson money because he was in trouble in Europe. Well, she actually had to call the bank for whatever reason to get that much money. And they said, this is a scam. And it was a scammer saw on his social media that he was out of the country, contacted the vulnerable party, which is often elderly folks or young people, and got to the emotional side of it and said, hey, Grandma, John is in trouble, send him money. But really it was going to be to a scammer. So that's one of those that happens a lot. So when you are out of town, it's actually a very wise decision to not put things on your social media if you're not home, especially as an adult. So I live alone most of the time, or I'm just with my son, and I don't like people knowing if I'm out of town. So I try to save a lot of my pictures for later, or I have major lockdown on my social media, which I do. I have high security on my social media, but I don't want people knowing that I'm not home. So it's the safe thing to do. I know it's hard because we want to show off our pictures and where we're going. But if you can keep that private until you get home, it's a lot safer in that way. Just some comments in the chat box. So don't click on those emails. And then Scott says, my father recently got a scam call. Then he listened to the amount that the scammer wanted and he hung up. Exactly. Sometimes it's like absurd amount of money. But one of the helpful tips I could say is when in doubt, call your bank. Call any bank. You don't have to bank with UBT. Give us a call. Call our customer service line and just give us the rundown of who's contacting you. You can just say, somebody called, they said they're from Target and they want me to send them a gift card. We'll tell you if it's a scam or not. And just remember, if it's really important, they'll get a hold of you the right way. There are scams out there that scammers will call and say they're from a government agency, the IRS, ICE, Social Security. And they're going to say, if you don't send us money, often gift cards, then family's going to get deported. Your Social Security benefits or your SSDI will get canceled, something like that. They're going to give an ultimatum. You have to send this or this will happen. And I will tell you this, even the police officer on the call told me this. No government agency will call and ask for payment. Social Security office does not take payments over the phone. IRS does not take payments over the phone, and ICE doesn't take payments. You can't pay them off to keep someone from being deported. It's all a scare tactic to get to the emotional side and to do it quickly. So just know if anybody calls and says, hey, if you send me this, then I won't cancel your benefits. Or sometimes they'll say, hey, if you send us this payment, we'll increase your benefits. So those that are getting SSDI or SSI think, hey, I'm going to get more of a benefit if I just pay this. That's not real. They do not have the power to do that. When it comes to government entities or agencies that are calling you saying that you owe them money, what you should do is hang up the phone, look up the number for that agency and call that number. Don't ask the person for the number first. Just hang up and call the IRS or the Social Security office or whomever it is. They will know if there really is a problem. No government agency only has one person that can look at your account. They should all be able to look at it. So if you need to call the Social Security office, you hang up, you type in Lancaster County Social Security office and you call them because anybody there who picks up the phone can look at your account. So never take never take the phone number of the person on the phone. Just Google it yourself and find it out by yourself. And you could tell that person on the phone, I will call you back, and just hang up. Because again, if there's a problem, anyone could look it up, not just that one person on the other side of the phone. So just think outside the box when you're getting these phone numbers or emails, these phone calls or emails or messages, and just try to step back and go, does this make sense? Does paying the IRS in Walmart gift cards make sense? No, it doesn't. What are they going to do with a Walmart gift card? But it happens all the time because once that money is spent, we can't get it back, especially with gift cards. Time is on your side. You do not need to make rash decisions when somebody is presenting you with an ultimatum. So if you need to take a second to ask an adult, a banker, a police officer, what's going on, please do. Call any bank and they'll tell you if you're dealing with a scam. Call me. I've actually had, I think Dan has referred some people over to me that I've said, hey, call this number. And we've figured out that it's a scam or something like that. So you can call me. I don't mind. And I'll tell you what I know, but I'll connect you to the right people to find out what's going on. So with that, I will ask does anybody have any questions? That was kind of a really quick rundown of scams. There's a ton more that we could go into another time, but those are the quick ones that really affect youth and their money. So is any questions from anyone? Feel free to unmute yourself or use the chat box.
I was just going to say, like you've been saying the whole time, Caitlin, you have to be cautious in the world that we live in now, and especially going forward. I don't see any of this going away. It's just going to get worse. So
it's become really easy to scam people because technology just seems so easy. As more people are just using social media platforms to meet people, friends of friends, it's becoming even more just normal. But just be cautious about who's asking you for money and how you're sending it if you are going to send it. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, I will let you guys go, but thank you for being on today, and I'll get this on YouTube and sent out to you. But feel free to contact me if you do have questions down the line, or contact your PALS worker and they can contact me too. So thanks so much, everyone, for being on.